What's up, everybody, and welcome back to my channel. It's time for a recap of Teen Mom OG Season 7B, Episode 25. The episode kicks off with Kate, as usual, making yet another excuse for why she could not be bothered to work on her marriage. So she says that this time she can't talk about her relationship with Tyler or go to counseling because she's going to New York City for press. But like, they had all this time to work on it before press, and she kept like coming up with excuses, and she made no mention of when they're going to do it. She could have been like, oh, we're going to New York City for press, but we do have an appointment scheduled for when we get back, or the week after we get back, or something like that. But nothing of the sort is mentioned by Kate. I feel like next episode she's going to be like, oh, like, I wish I could work on my relationship with Tyler, but I'm still not ready because I went to McDonald's and the ice cream machine broke down. Meanwhile, in Texas, Dakota was looking like a snack and a half, talking to producers about how his 2-year-old accused him of stealing Bristol's money. He explained it away as a clerical error and revealed that Bristol tried to get him thrown in jail over the money, which, you know, is pretty crappy considering how that would affect Dakota's already pretty fragile mental state, and not to mention the kids missing out on time with their father. That would affect child support payments. Like, it's a pretty huge deal to want to throw someone in jail, which is why, although I, at first believed him about it being like an auto pay issue, a clerical error, now I'm kind of like, well, if that was the case, then why didn't you or your people proactively reach out to Bristol and her people about what was going on so that it never would have escalated to that point? But then again, maybe Bristol wanted it to escalate to that point anyway. Like, I don't know who's right here. I feel like the truth lies somewhere in the middle. Now, let's head a little bit further south where Macey calls Kate to talk about the New York City promo shoot that they're going to be doing. And they talk about how, even though it's going to be awkward meeting the new girls, anything is going to be better than dealing with Farrah. It's like, okay, Farrah's off the show, get over it. But and then she also mentions how she's not sure if she could trust the other girls, and that she doesn't trust anybody the way she trusts Catelynn and Amber. But these girls only really see each other like, what, 3 times a year? Like, what does Macey need to trust Bristol and Cheyenne with? Like, it didn't really make any sense to me. I feel like the only thing that Macey should have trust issues with is condoms. Now, what would an episode of Teen Mom OG be without Rhine's parents, Mimi, Jen, and Larry? The two of them sit down in their basement with his abandoned dog and talk about how they broke the news to Bentley that Rhine went back to rehab. And then Mimi's like, oh, I want to call Macey to tell her about it next. I was like, wait, hold up. You told Macey's child, like her 9-year-old child, before you told her? Like, what the heck is going on there? They should have allowed Macey to have that conversation with Bentley and acted as backup, as grandparents. That was not like their news to tell Macey's son. Like, they have been like hardcore shit disturbers this entire season so far. Now, Amber has arrived in New York City and she's been feeling sick. So she and Andrew joke about her potentially being pregnant because she feels nauseous. And I'm pretty sure that literally every egg in Amber's body was like trembling with fear at the idea of being fertilized only to be raised in a crib without sheets. Guys, do you feel like this episode so far has been a repeat of literally every episode all season? I mean, Catelynn making another excuse for why she can't go to therapy with her husband, Amber being like, oh, I hate being away from Leah, but, and then Ryan being in rehab. Like, it's so freaking redundant. You've seen one episode of Teen Mom OG, you've literally seen them all. Now, Gary brings a little bit of spice to the episode now when he meets up with a private investigator to get more info on his biological father. He finds out that his half-brother may actually be his full brother, according to his mom's half-sister, what she told the investigator. We're then quickly transported back to New York City, where Amber makes demands of the producers about respecting the moms enough to give them advance notice about their new co-stars, like, or at least letting them meet them backstage before being dumped on camera with them. Guys, imagine walking up to the CEO of your company and scolding them, being like, I built this company for like 10 plus years. So like, you better tell me whenever you're gonna hire someone new. Like, you would be thrown out of the building faster than Jazzy Jeff in a Fresh Prince episode. The audacity of these girls is astounding. Speaking of the new girls, Cheyenne and Bristol meet and have the most awkward conversation about how nervous they feel about meeting the new moms. Like, it was like so awkward when you meet someone and you're forced to like continue talking to them and asking questions, maybe because you're waiting for someone to pick you up and you got nothing better to do, or they just don't understand social social cues and won't walk away and leave you alone. Like, it was a cringy, like awkward first meeting episode that kept like being prolonged by producer like fed questions. Now, after her little blowout moment with the producers, Amber reveals that the news of Cheyenne and Bristol being hired made her feel a little bit insecure about her role on the show and whether or not like she was doing anything wrong. And Macey and Kate agreed. Honestly, I am happy they feel that way. I feel like MTV needs to put them in their place more often and let them know that all their asses are replaceable. Like, they don't bring anything special to the show anymore. All Macey could do is talk about Rhine in a monotone ass voice. All Amber does is sit around on the couch and make excuses for why she's not with her daughter. All Catelynn does is, you know what Catelynn does. I'm not even going to get into that anymore. But like, they should be on their toes and worried about being replaced. I really do hope that Cheyenne and Bristol are the beginning of the phasing out of these girls. Maybe next one to go will be one of the three, and slowly but surely we have a new cast of teen moms. But like, no more Hollywood or rich famous people anymore. Bring in people from 16 and pregnant, guys, please. Now, one of our season faves, Tyler, goes down to Austin, Texas to visit his dad. And, before hanging out with his dad, he sits down with his mom to talk about his sister's drug abuse over a couple of gratuitous shots of alcohol, of course. His mom tells him that his sister was taking 5 Percocets a day mixed with another drug, but Tyler doesn't believe that she's a drug addict. Like, I was kind of like mind boggled by that. He says that his sister Amber is just an irresponsible partier who happened to have gotten in too deep, but he doesn't feel like he needs to do that much for her because she's got her mom and dad both supporting her, and that's, all that she needs. And his mom was like, no, like, she needs you too, Tyler. She needs you too. And like, she kept pushing Tyler towards being supportive of his sister. But I feel like the amount of support that Tyler has given not only to his sister, but his entire family, like blood family, and like his family with his stepsister as well, is so much, like financial, emotional. Like, he's tapped out. Let mom and dad, like, for the first time in their lives, come together and deal with their daughter. Like, leave Tyler out of it. And it's just so wild, the amount of like pushing and prodding that his mom does in trying to make him be there for his sister. But when it comes to Kate, it's, oh, Tyler, you is kind, you is smart, you is important, you is too good for Catelynn. Like, come on, like, what the heck is going on there? New and old finally collide, and it is as boring as you can imagine, guys. All the girls sit down together backstage, and Bristol mentions meeting Macey 10 years ago, downplaying the fact that they were abstinence advocates while having numerous kids out of wedlock. The conversation quickly changes to Farrah's attitude, thanks to Bristol knowing that the OGs seem to always look for an excuse to talk about Farrah. It was incredibly tacky. I'm tired of hearing about Farrah. And by the way, backstage over there, Amber was still talking about being potentially pregnant, but nonetheless, she drinks alcohol with everyone else. Classic. Now, Butch is staying in a sober living house, which looked like any old house, but not to Tyler. He puts on his best cutoff sweater, like that just ever so gently grazes his side pecs, probably hoping for a nip slip of sorts to propel his stardom. As he pulls up to the house, and he's like, oh my God, they've got a doorbell. This is such a nice neighborhood. They got money around here. I was like, really? All that over a doorbell? And you pulled up on a Dodge Charger? And like, you've got multiple homes of your own? Like, a doorbell is what impresses you these days? Like, okay. Butch comes out and he is so happy about having a job and a driver's license for the first time in like 30 years. It was quite endearing. So the two of them sit up back over some burgers that Butch grilled and talk with their mouths full about how much Amber wants Tyler to reach out, and he still refuses to because he's tired of her refusing to grow up. Guys, I am a huge believer in cutting toxic people out of your lives, family or not. So I do not blame Tyler one bit for wanting to cut his sister off. He gave her a whole house to live in for free, and she did so much damage that the police were involved. It ruined their name across the neighborhood, and he's gonna have to pay tens of thousands, if not maybe even $100,000 to restore that home, just to restore it to the condition that it should have been left in while it was under his sister's care. Okay, so Bristol is back in Texas again, and she's with a friend at a park talking about the money that Dakota allegedly stole, and she mentioned spending thousands of dollars on lawyers' fees just to communicate with him because they refused to speak with each other directly. Like, really, this is so relatable for teen moms, I'm sure. Her friend basically says that Dakota is mentally ill, and that's, just the sight of his face makes her sick, and then she starts crying. It was like, okay, girl, a little bit too involved here. So now Catelynn is back home from New York, and she heads home to Tyler and talks about immediately clicking with Cheyenne and not really with Bristol because of her conservative family background. LOL. Things get really somber in Garyland as he goes to get a DNA test with his half-brother to determine whether or not they really share a father. So he returns home to the Spite farm with the results, only to find that there's only a 1% chance that he and his half-brother are really full brothers. So the mystery still is at large about who Gary's dad is. You guys, his mom seriously is a thotty toddy for not, helping her son out with this at all, and not even knowing or like having any sense of clue about like who could be like one of maybe 2 people, 3 people. Still like you're really raw dogging that many people that you don't even have like a standby list of like 2 options. Like, reevaluate your life. Down over in Tennessee, Macy returns home and goes out for lunch with her friend Keely to talk about what else? Rhine. She reveals that Rhine's back in rehab and will miss the birth of his child, and that if he F's up this time, there won't be another chance with Bentley. Guys, again, the whole purpose of her banning Rhine from shooting was so that Bentley wouldn't have to relive these years of his life, like spiraling around his father's addiction. So what is the point of talking about him day in and day out if the whole purpose of you kicking him off was to protect your son from this? It makes no sense to me. I'm so sick and tired of hearing this girl talk about this guy. Like, Ryan needs to put out an order for Macy to stop talking about him. Like, come up with a different storyline, girl. And in the final scene of the episode, Amber is back home and ready to take a pregnancy test. Andrew is over there hoping she's pregnant so that he can maintain the luxury moo-moos he's been accustomed to purchasing throughout their relationship when he bounces and starts getting child support checks, y'all. She takes the test and finds out that she's not pregnant, and then talks about how badly having another kid would mess up her imaginary life goals with a brand new baby literally like at the foot of her chair. You guys, this businesswoman of ours, her clothing line and her makeup line, neither of them lasted like a year. So I don't know what the heck she's talking about, and she has never made any mention of trying to pursue a different career, trying to pursue higher education. So what are these plans, Amber? Inquiring minds want to know. You guys, that wraps up the 25th episode of season 7B of Teen Mom OG. But as usual, I'm more excited to hear what you have to say about everything. So please make sure to leave all of your thoughts, your opinions in the comment section down below, and we'll chat. You can also like this video, subscribe for more. Feel free to share it with your friends as well, and follow me across social media where I absolutely love chatting with you. That's all for now. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.